Alright, let's get this one thing out of the way first. I don't like horror games. I can't play them. I get scared way too quickly. I'm a pussy man. I would just sit in the corner and, I don't know, die? Is that what happens if you do that? Well, I wouldn't know because I don't play horror games. That tradition of me not playing horror games continued until very recently. I got a message on Discord from Ronald from the Vogue podcast telling me I should check out this newly released mod called The Apocalypse for Half-Life 2, and I thought, oh, sure, I'll check it out real quick. Let's see if I can make a video on it. Well, I played it a bit, and I nearly shat my pants. Oh my gosh, we need to talk about this right now because it's really good. Really, really good. But really scary. But really good.
LambdaGeneration.
Before we jump into the scary, let's talk about this week's Fan Art of the Week award. And this week it's going to LambdaGen user at Davingus. Congratulations! In this piece, Gordon is running away from a chopper on the dam section of Surface Tension, and he's bringing all his weapons with him. Want your art here? Upload it to the fan art category on community.lambdageneration.com, and maybe it's your turn next. So, what exactly is the Apocalypse about? Well, it's one of those Half-Life 2 total conversion mods that have absolutely nothing to do with the game it's built upon. So don't expect any elements from the Half-Life 2 story in here. The Apocalypse takes place on the XSS Ecclesiastes, a starship that used to have a full crew that was very happy to respond to company communiques at some point, but has lost that quirk some time ago. Now, they don't respond at all. It might have been due to them encountering something in space and being turned into hideous monsters. It was your job to find out why they didn't communicate together with the ship's AI, but I'm pretty sure that at this point it's too late and it's better to just try and escape the ship. The mod promises dangerous enemies, oh they certainly are, an original soundtrack and original voice acting, a rich and deep story to discover not just through the ship's AI, but also through PDAs and audio logs, inventory-based puzzles, and a very atmospheric environment. It also appears to take place in the Lunar Descent and Dissolution universe, which are also Half-Life 2 mods that were released years ago that feature the same kind of emphasis on environmental storytelling. And besides that, it takes inspiration from games like Amnesia and System Shock 2, two games I have never actually played. Amnesia, probably for obvious reasons. I still don't like horror games.
But Mitch, why did you decide to play this mod then? If you don't like survival horror games, then this is clearly not something for you, right?
Well, yeah, true. But I wanted to challenge myself and see if I could get through this without getting too scared. And, well, did it work? Did I manage to play it through to the end? Well, no. I managed to play it for only an hour. But hear me out, I do have stuff to say about it. I think I did see just about enough of the mod to give you my first impressions of it, so let's go. The Apocalypse brands itself as a survival horror game inspired by System Shock 2 and Amnesia, and elements from those two games are very apparent throughout my experience so far. You got System Shock's inventory system and Amnesia's unkillable enemies that you have to avoid. At least, they remain unkillable throughout my experience, but they might become killable later on, but I'm just not sure. The puzzles as well follow a very simple layout throughout most of my experience. They might get a little harder or more varied later on in game, but from what I have encountered, it seems pretty repetitive, especially when I put it on paper like this. Every puzzle so far relies on you, the player, needing to collect something like some batteries, or sometimes there's a PCB mixed in as well. In other occasions, you need to find a keycard to open a door, but that's about it. Especially the battery puzzle I have now encountered at least 3 times throughout my 1 hour long playthrough. Now, this would seem pretty repetitive, but it's somewhat saved by the environment you're walking through, because sometimes these environments are entirely safe and pose no harm to you whatsoever, but other times you better be on your toes, because they are here. The infected, warped crew members. Basically, if you find these door control buttons inside these little rooms, you already know what time it is. Like I said before, these enemies can't be killed, so the only way to evade them is by locking yourself into the rooms and hoping that they leave you alone after a while. And sometimes they don't. These encounters really get my blood rushing. You also have a flashlight. That way you won't have to hide completely in the dark. It does need to be charged though. You can find smaller batteries throughout the mod to top up the quickly decreasing charge inside of the flashlight. Seriously, this thing drains more quickly than my 6-year-old gaming laptop, and that thing barely gets past the boot screen before it needs to be charged again. All this adds up to the survival aspect of the mod though. You need to keep looking for these batteries and only use your flashlight when it's absolutely necessary and turn it off whenever you don't need it anymore just to conserve that last bit of juice. Because trust me, you don't want to end up without any batteries for this thing. Apart from that, the gameplay experience seems pretty solid except for some of the puzzles. But like I said, I only played for an hour, so it might get better later on in the game. Let's talk a bit about the graphics, because this mod looks quite good. As far as I can tell, every asset here is custom, from the textures to the models and some of the sound effects. The mod even has fully custom voice acting, and it sounds pretty darn good.
I've been expecting you, Mr. Hodges. I was contacted by the company and told you were on your way. You need to make your way to the science deck. I've unlocked the way for you.
The lighting especially seems really good here. It really sells the dark atmosphere this place should have. The shadows are also nice and sharp and adds a great deal of extra depth to the maps. That together with the level of detail in the maps makes for a really nicely coherent experience. You know, you have a bunch of mods out there that claim to have a ton of custom content inside of it, but sometimes all that custom content just doesn't fit very well together, so you get this noisy mess of different styles of textures and models mixed together into some kind of crunchy, bootleg-looking stew. This mod doesn't have that. It has a clearly defined art style and every aspect of the mod reflects that. The level geometry is detailed but doesn't go overboard. It's just enough to make the place look believable. And all that mixed together with the lighting and texture work makes for something that's pretty to look at. As for the enemies though, they look absolutely terrifying. I'm not sure what exactly they're supposed to represent. I thought they had grown a pointy beak or something and are turning into bird creatures or something at first. But looking at them from the front, it seems apparent that this might not really be a beak. I really don't know. Honestly, I was too terrified to get a really good look at them. But hey, that's what they're supposed to do, right? Terrify the player? Well, it did a really good job there, because after this part where I had to somehow make it past one of these things, I noped out of the game and decided to just leave it there for now. Maybe I'll get into this game once more at some point to try and finish it up, but for now I'd like my undergarments unstained. Thank you very much. Yeah, this style of game has never really been something for me, so by extension I can't really enjoy playing this mod personally. Not by myself at least. Maybe with a friend next to me it would make the experience a lot more bearable. I mean, that's how I managed to play Slender the 8 Pages back in the day. But hey, just because it's not made for me, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It's not at all. I just wanted to make this video to bring some more attention to this mod because mods of this quality don't just appear every day, you know? This mod began as a project by the mod's creator, 8472, or 8472. I don't know, to kill the time in the COVID-19 pandemic that started in 2020. So this mod has effectively been in development for about 2 years. Well, those are 2 years well spent, I'd say. So if you love survival horror stuff and are dying for a high-quality Half-Life 2 total conversion, then this is the stuff for you. But can you handle it? Can you save the ship and unravel what exactly has happened to these former crew members turned freakish bird creatures? And what role did the ship's captain, Captain Eden, play in all of this? You'll be able to get to the bottom of all of that and more in The Apocalypse, also known as The Apocalypse of Eden. Now available for download on ModDB.
Do bring some extra underwear, though.
This is the part of the video where I remind you of our mapping competition series called Lambda Builds. This month we have been running a competition called Info Comp Start, where you have to create a Half-Life 2 map with the Half-Life series 4 pillars as the main themes. Those are Run, Think, Shoot, and Live. For more information on this competition, click the link in the description below. It'll bring you to our website for it. You still have about 1.5 weeks to participate or to finish your current map. Good luck.